Hi, everyone. Your godmother is here. It's finally April. March was a bear of a month. I really thought that blood moon was going to help us, and it did the exact opposite. Here's hoping that our vibrations are high this April. I'm hoping that for all of you. Thank you for joining me again. I love it when you're here with me. This is an exciting top 10. It's not exactly 10, but I had invited my Substack followers to have movies for me to watch. And so I will be talking about the movies that they asked me to watch. So that was so much fun. Fun little game. This month also, we are going to have a watch along, a live watch along of a movie to be announced. It's going to be a really good one. So if you don't want to miss that, follow my Substack. You can join us and we can be texting each other during the movie and having a lot of fun. So the first film that I watched was recommended by a dear, dear friend of mine, a social media friend, and she has exquisite taste. She recommended The Girl with All the Gifts from 2016, directed by Colm McCarthy and starring Gemma Arterton and Patty Considine and Glenn Close. Okay, I'm trying to be, I know so many of you are really enamored with this film. And the Godmother believes this film is really enamored with itself. There's a lot of like slow clips, like, the camera's kind of like, oh, these slow shots. And isn't this beautiful? And isn't this wonderful? And isn't this interesting? I would have preferred this movie had it been a short. I felt it went on way too long. Basically, I'm kind of meh about this movie. I'm not a huge fan. I had avoided it for a long time because I did not feel I had the energy for this type of dystopia, which I know those of you who've read my writing, that's ironic or hypocritical maybe even, because I write a lot of dystopian things, but I had to like gear myself up to sit down and be like, oh my God, this has kids. This is, let me sit down for it. It is really bleak. The title character, the girl with all the gifts, she's lovable. And the acting's really good in this film, including with the kids. The kids are remarkable. Again, it just felt slow to me. It would have been more riveting as a short. Keep the beginning, keep the ending, trim out tons of the middle, especially trim out the, like animal stuff. Again, I know we're in a dystopia. I know, I get it. But could we treat the animals a little bit better? Just a little bit better. I did like the stuff that looks sort of video game-ish. That was really cool. Keep that. I know Colm McCarthy doesn't want my notes on the film, but those are my notes on the film. So I love that this was recommended to me. I love the person who recommended it. But again, it's a meh for me. The next film is, I think you say it V, and this is a Soviet Gothic film from 1967. So I will mess up these names. Directed by Konstantin Yershov and Georgy Kropotchov, and starring Leonid Cherlivov and Natalia Varley. This is a fun one, and it was recommended under that, the person who recommended it, another dear friend, said, this is going to be fun. And it was. It starts with this fairy tale-like beginning. That's sort of a jaunty romp with three monks needing to find a place to stay. And they end up at the home of this old hag. And honestly, I respect her style. This is like Godmother goals. She is Godmother goals 100%. She also is sometimes a young witch. As we know, that happens a lot in European witch folklore, that the witches can appear young and old depending on their agenda. She dies as the young witch, and the one monk is required to sit vigil with her body. And he makes this like sacred circle around her. to like keep out the evil, excuse me, keep her in the circle. And there's just some awesome pantomiming. Like it looks like a mime where it's like trying to like get through the circle. It's wonderful. And where her body is being kept, there's all these paintings of these like angry Russian saints that glare at the monk. And there's this really angry Russian Jesus who is really interesting to me. And I kind of want to get that picture somehow. This, as I said, it's fun. It's super trippy. It's very 1960s. The special effects are, 1960s. And there's some Muppety looking stuff at the end. But most importantly, this film gave me a really good Halloween costume idea. Next is Digging Up the Morrow from 2014, directed by Adam Green and starring Ray Wise and Adam Green. And this one did not make it on my top 10 found footage list for a good reason. Now, a very dear friend recommended this, and I'm not mentioning people's names. I'm not doxing people. I'm not outing them. But if they want me to put their names in the comments, I can. But just this was another dear friend recommended this, so it's now has a softer, warmer place in my heart than it did before. When I originally watched this, and I rewatched when people recommended things I had already seen, I did do a rewatch. I really enjoyed the beginning of the film. They're talking about this monster hunter named William Decker, and he has seen real monsters. And he has seen real monsters in the Morrow, which is like down in the earth, below the earth. The beginning feels sort of like this fandom con kind of situation. And that was really attractive to me because it's super familiar to me. I'm very familiar with cons. And I also like this idea of having this expert who's like, yeah, I've really, really seen monsters. I can prove it, but nobody's believing me, but I do have the proof. Because we all want monsters to be real, right? The world would be really boring if there was no such thing as monsters. And your godmother certainly believes in monsters. So I liked all of that. Just full disclosure, I'm super persnickety about found footage. I love found footage films. I'm a big fan of them, but I can be really nitpicky about them, especially if I feel like that fourth wall has been broken for me. Like I feel like I've been taken out of the believability of it. And I recognize Ray Wise. And that is always an irritant to me with found footage. If I can recognize one of the actors, I'm like, I'm done. I want these people to be people, like the Blair Witch Project. I've never seen these people before. I totally believe they're grad students. So Ray Wise is like, okay. And then the monsters look a little bit silly at points. But I can be okay with that. I think my biggest problem is Adam Green, who's the main character, felt like he was performing. He didn't feel real. And I want my found footage actors to obviously feel real. I want to like really believe what they're saying. He felt like he was acting. And he was the director, he was the writer, he was the star. And sometimes when you're wearing all the hats in a production, it can lead to danger because there's no one there to keep you in check. So, Digging Up the Morrow, if you like found footage, yeah, give this one a ride. Again, I'm sort of just meh on it simply because that fourth wall was broken for me. Next, Killer Clowns from Outer Space from 1988. The 80s. God, I love the 80s. Directed by Steven Chodo with a script written by his brother. So this was a family affair and starring Grant Kramer, Suzanne Snyder, and John Allen Nelson. Now, Killer Clowns is a classic. I've always watched creature features from when I was a very, very little girl. When I was a young godmother, I would watch the creature features from like the 60s often, and like the Godzilla ones and some of those older ones. But the 1980s was where I really became a horror movie fan. Like I was a tween and a teen in the 80s. So this was when, we watched horror films at slumber parties. This is when my world opened up with horror films. So we have Killer Clowns, which is sort of like that combo of 80s horror with like a creature feature, if you want to consider the clowns a creature. But this is sort of, when this came out, this was sort of my awakening with horror films. I love the clothes and the hair, and the clowns are creepy. There are birds all over the place. Like, I can't get them to be quiet, so I apologize for that. Plus, we have creepy kids, like that little sleep paralysis demon that's in the hamburger joint. The special effects are super fun in this movie. And we oddly have this kind of throuple at the end with the main character. Like, I wasn't sure what was really happening there at the end. And I felt like maybe this is kind of like a nice little throuple. Be nice. If you are not aware, you are aware if you watched it that there is an amazing theme song, but if you're not aware, there's also a video that accompanies the theme song. So I urge you to go find that video, dig it up and watch it. It's a lot of fun. Next is The Blackcoat's Daughter from 2015, directed by Oz Perkins and starring Emma Roberts and Kiernan Shipka. This is another movie that I avoided for a long time because I am not an Emma Roberts fan. She, even though I do all the American Horror Stories and everything, she is a real turn off for me. And the way this film was promoted, it looked like she was the main actress and we were just going to follow her the whole way through. And that's not really the case. She's in it a lot, but so isn't Kiernan and other people. I would say she has even less time in the film than these other actresses, but she was more of the draw or the bigger name, and that's why they really used her in the promotion. They also limited her dialogue, which is what you should do when you have Emma Roberts. What's funny about this film is I watch everything with closed captions because I am, deaf. And my closed captions kept saying deep, ominous ambiance. And I'm like, don't tell me how to feel, movie. Like, what are you doing? It was really funny, like just the words they kept using. This movie is a slow burn. And I really like the take on demonic possession here. I thought it was going to go in a real religious way, but it didn't. It was more about loneliness and filling a void, and I liked that. That was cool. It was an interesting take. It reminded me of Oz Perkins' Long Legs, which also kind of led me to believe we were going down a religious path with the demonic possession, and we're going to talk about religion and demonic possession next, but it then kind of turns and becomes something more interesting. The demonic shadow that we see in this film reminds me of Donnie Darko, which is another dark ambience film or whatever, ominous ambience movie. I love Donnie Darko. Wonderful, wonderful movie. I'm going to now put up my spoiler, so if you've not seen The Blackcoat's Daughter, please jump ahead to the next film. So I like this movie. I like The Blackcoat's Daughter. It left me with a lot to think about, but it almost left me with too much to think about. Like, I was writing parts of the movie to make it make sense. Like, for example, why didn't the parents of the murdered girl recognize her murderer? You would think that they would be obsessed with this person, right? I certainly would be. That person's face would never leave my mind. So in my head, I'm going, okay, so maybe the parents are like under some sort of spell, or maybe the demon is protecting her at this point, but really she's not with the demon anymore. You know what I'm saying? I was trying really hard to make the loose ends tie together, and I did this with Long Legs as well, but a little bit less than Long Legs. It was more with The Blackcoat's Daughter than with Long Legs. And I appreciate ambiguity in a film. I like a film that leaves me thinking and chewing on it for a while. But this had too much of it where I felt like I need the movie to meet me halfway. I'm not the script writer. I shouldn't be writing the script for you. So that's my only complaint. Otherwise, I really did enjoy this film. Next is When Evil Lurks, which is an Argentinian film from 2023, directed by Damien Regna, starring Ezekiel Rodriguez and Demian Solomon. I love this movie. This is one of my favorite horror movies. I love this movie. And I mean, we just talked about demonic possession. I am super, super persnickety when it comes to demonic possession. Demonic possession movies really have to hit it out of the park to register with me. Mainly because I'm so exhausted with the adolescent tied to a bed, swearing and making sexual overtures, and we're supposed to be clutching our pearls because, oh my God, how could a 12-year-old know about that? That's horrible. And then they bring in the young priest and the old priest, and the old priest is like at the end of life and really wondering, why did I dedicate my whole life to this when I'm not even sure I believe it? Meanwhile, young priest is banging someone in the congregation. Like, I'm just tired of it. I'm so done with it. I can't do it anymore. And when this came out and they're like, it's an Argentinian film, I'm like, okay, here we go, more Catholic guilt. No, so wrong. So absolutely wrong. There's no ties to the church in this film. We don't have any priests rolling in. Instead, we have these people called the cleaners. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And they come in and they try to clean up the demon, the possession. It's amazing. I loved in this film, we have a neurodivergent character, and there was some really interesting takes on what if your brain is wired differently and it is then possessed by a demon. How does that work? And I would love for more films and more horror fiction to examine this. It's super interesting. I think there's a lot that we can do with it. I have a story, not to like plug, but I have a story in a book that you can get when you come to a con. That book is called Conthology, and my story is about the Sally Ann test, and it's sort of delves into this just a little bit with possession and neurodivergence. So I'm super interested in that. I think you're going to see the Godmother doing more and more with that, and I'd love to see more of you doing more and more with that. This film does not shy away from gore. There is violence committed against children, and they are not apologetic about it. There's violence with animals, again, totally unapologetic about it. So if that's not your gig, you might not want to watch it. But however, this movie did win lots of awards, deservedly so. It's an amazing, amazing film. It is so well done and it's so different. I've talked about this twice on my channel, and I know the Godmother never repeats herself, but it was in my top 10 demonic possession films because obviously, and it was also in 2023, I did one movie every day for the month of October, and this was one of my films from 2023. If you go back and watch that, if you go back and watch my first review from 2023, you can see I am in a state of shock. Like I had just watched a movie and I couldn't wrap my head around it. That's how mind-blowing this film is. So, the Godmother highly, highly recommends When Evil Lurks, but prepare yourself for it, because it's a lot. And the final film that was recommended to me was Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers from 1988. Man, 1988 was a stellar year for horror, right? This was directed by Michael A. Simpson and starring Pamela Springsteen and Renee Estevez, big stars. Oh, this is a great movie. This is a great movie. A high bar was left after that cinematic masterpiece that was Sleepaway Camp, right? I mean, those short shorts were hard to fill. Yet, Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, said, hold my beer. This film has mullets, big hair, big hair, lots of boobs, which I love from 80s movies, and that cheesy 80s cheesiness that's just my jam. I miss the 80s so much. If I could go back in a time machine. Yeah. If I could relive any part of my life again, I think the 80s were just stellar. They really were. And the Godmother feels sorry for those of you youngins who did not get to experience it because you really missed out. You missed out on something magical. So this story begins with the characters sitting around a campfire, and they're basically giving us a summary of Sleepaway Camp. Like there's this big expository lump, but it's really well done. Like it's cool, it's fine, it's great. We also get our first kill, and it's a good kill. And it's a nice way to welcome viewers who missed Sleepaway Camp. This movie is campy, pun intended. We have an amazing villain here. I'm not sure why she's not included in the pantheon of slasher killers. Like I have, I don't know if you can see this on my phone. I have all, these killers on my phone. Don't see her anywhere. So is this misogyny? I don't know. I want to the Godmother's going to delve into this, and I'm going to maybe start a campaign where we include her amongst our killers because her kills are inventive. They're wonderful. This movie is basically a morality play, which makes it so much fun too. Again, mullets, big hair, boobs. What more do you want? It's perfect. It's a perfect movie. So again, to those of you who recommended a movie, thank you so much for playing along. I had so much fun watching the movies. I thought of you as I was watching them. I almost felt like we were watching them together. And again, we are going to have a watch along, so please join me for that. I think that's going to be so much fun. Next month, I'm going old school. And by that, I mean I'm going in the way back machine, way back before my beloved 80s, and talking about some black and white horror. So if you don't want to miss that, hit that subscribe button so you can be alerted. Like I wish that when I had a new thing dropped that like a scream or something came out at you, like some bats came flying out at you. I wonder if YouTube can do something like that. I'm going to look into that. Anyway, hit that subscribe so you're there when it's ready. And again, thank you for watching.